Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Smith, and I am a financial advisor here in Jefferson, Ohio. What I try to do is help people prepare to not have a day-to-day job and that they can retire. So I consider myself a financial planner for those people. What we try to do is line up what their goals are, what they would want to try to do again once they stop having a job, but still have day-to-day bills and all the different expenses that come along with that. How do we go ahead and prepare for that? So what I try to do again is work inside of investments, so like the stock market of different companies that we buy, sell, and trade, do all those different things and research. That's my day-to-day job. But the reason why I'm talking to you today is that I'm also a volunteer for the Junior Achievement Program. And what that program is trying to accomplish for you guys is linking up your education with the idea of what does that look like for you after school? How can I line up my education goals with my career goals and make something and the best choices, for my success there into the future? Now, what you guys are participating in this time is actually our 8th grade program, which is going to be the Economics for Success. So I'll go ahead and share, my screen for you guys so that we can go along with slides, as we, work our way through this. But you're going to be in this Economics for Success, and for us, we have the first lesson, which is called Mirror Mirror. The biggest part to that is, what kind of things do I see into myself in the mirror concept, and how does that line up with what I think for my future? So as we start the lesson, what we're going to try and do is look at this triangle. Now I have a couple of definitions that we'll go along with, and we'll try to highlight those things for you. But really, self-knowledge is this idea of a simple awareness for you. What do I like to do? What qualities do I have that's going to maybe set me apart from other people? What can I do to try and link up to, again, a career that you're going to enjoy for a very long time? Now, it's really important for me to say to you is that things change constantly for us. New jobs are going to be created. Things that you haven't even thought of are going to be a reality for you guys in just a few more years, just because of the way technology works. But things that you enjoy right now, things that you have as far as skills, usually will line up for you in a different career path for you. So as you look at this triangle, what this means for us is that you're going to also have interests. What are the things that you like to do? What are the things that you don't like to do is maybe easier for you to understand? And how do those things link up with, again, a career for us, later on? So do you have any preferred activities? Do you have any hobbies that you really like or enjoy? That's what we mean by interest. The second part of the triangle is skills. So in a skill set, you have different talents or abilities. Now, it's interesting to kind of look at what we just talked about with interest, is that sometimes these two things don't line up. A good example, I guess, for me would be, hey, I really like music, and while I might have played an instrument while I was in high school, that didn't line up so much with, I guess, like the singing aspect of things. Now, I still like to listen to all different kinds of like genres and still enjoy all those and still try to make that part of my life, but my skill set didn't necessarily line up with my talent or abilities. So in contrast to that, things that I was really good at, it did make things just easier for me. So like in the math world or in the science world, I found myself just having things come easier to me, so that, of course, made it more enjoyable for me. The last section that we talk about is really more personal, where you're talking about values. So in a system of values, this is really just kind of like what you care about. What are your maybe like core beliefs? For me, it would be, I guess, like my faith in church. It's going to really dive into my family values of, how I really care for, hometown feel, the reason why I wanted to stay in Jefferson, which is where I grew up. Those are more values as opposed to anything else. But in the sense of a triangle, you get the whole idea that that is a one solid shape for you. All of these things are one part of the triangle. There's not one or more that necessarily is more important for you, but they all come together to try and create this idea of your self-knowledge. Now, when we get an awareness about this, the idea is that It just helps us maybe make decisions about what the future could hold for us. There's different parts of these once we answer questions to those that allow us to, again, have simply an awareness to make a good decision going forward. Again, going back to my job, when I'm doing financial planning for people, sometimes we just never even have a concept of what people say like spend in a month. And so we talk about a budget. It doesn't mean that people have to spend a really small amount of money or a really large amount of money. It's more of an awareness so that we then can make good decisions going forward. A big part of the whole process for us here with Junior Achievement is just giving you guys an awareness. And sometimes this is self-reflection so that you can make good decisions as you move forward. So the first activity that we have in front of us is actually just called a self-knowledge treasure hunt. You'll notice it's pretty self-explanatory here onto the worksheet, just a one-pager for you, but it's trying to help you, develop and get information about what you might be interested in, what your skill values or skill set could be, and also, some values that you see there down below. So what I'd like you to do is try to take that worksheet and just think, okay, what are 3 things that I have skills into? What are 3 things that I have interests into? And of course, down at the bottom, these are more yes or no questions with your beliefs of, hey, do you care about this, particular topic or not? The beauty off of most of these, activities is that there's no right or wrong answer. It's really being truthful with yourself. You're going to be better off with the idea of putting down what you really believe, so that you can, again, put your best foot forward here as we're making some, decisions towards future careers for yourself. So there's a few examples I know into the paragraphs that you can see there before. If I'm talking about for myself, different skill sets that I would have had, maybe in your guys' shoes, is that math just really came easy for me. Again, going back to the idea that your jobs can kind of change. Well, I honestly thought that I was going to be like an electrical engineer when I started because I was really, I guess, pretty good at math. The idea is that science came easy to me, and those things kind of lend themselves to, well, let's try and check out engineering. Once I went into college, I realized that there were some other things that didn't line up so well, with me, and so I ended up becoming a math teacher at first, or pursuing that. And then eventually my math, degree and career kind of took off into, again, a finance world. All of those things kind of blend themselves into the same categories that we'll look at later on. So it makes sense to me now and looking back, but this is the idea, okay, well, what skills lend itself to maybe what I want to look forward into the future. So maybe you don't like math. Maybe you're more of the creative design and doing stuff with maybe computers. Maybe you like working with animals. Maybe you like the idea of just sports all throughout. Now that would maybe be my last skill set that I had, was that I participated in sports. Baseball was like my main one. The idea is that I did pretty well, into those, ideas, but in that skill set, but it didn't necessarily lend myself into being, drafted by the Cleveland Indians or anything like that. Now my interests still, I guess, would be, baseball, still would be things, with, audio and technology. I still enjoy those things, but family, was, a big thing of staying, close to friends and family. We talked a little bit about that before, but these are just things that you're interested in. Now, I'm still interested in education. I'm still interested in, trying to help you guys. That's a big part of my, again, day-to-day job is still education for older folks usually. But if you get any of those concepts early on, it really would help you. Now, the bottom section, I just have that on the screen for you now, is just yes or no questions. I would also, I guess, venture to say that you could put a third column into there. So maybe you don't know the answer to this. That's perfectly fine. Maybe you could have like a maybe column that you want to think about it a little bit more, or you want to maybe come back to it later. That's perfectly fine. Again, be honest with yourself. There's no right or wrong answers. These are your values. This is what you care about. I spoke a little bit about mine with, family and trying to stay close to home. Maybe yours is opposite and you want to get away. You want to get out of, the area that you're in. That's perfectly fine. Just try and go and explore those things. So yes or no questions that you can simply check off. You'll be able to try and then just think through that process and be able to have a better self-analysis or self-awareness of what you may like or dislike. Okay. Now in this next chart, I know it's a little bit hard to read for you, so I'm going to try to go into a couple other slides to maybe do a little bit more of a deep dive into this. But I just want to show you the poster in general, because this is trying to encompass the entire economy for us. We have all these different categories, what we call career clusters. And what they try to group together, as I slightly mentioned before, is the idea that, well, okay, if you like math and science, you might fall into a different category than, say, working with animals and veterinarians or marine biologists, just because your skill set or interest did not line up into that spot. But these clusters do give several different jobs that even if maybe one thing didn't work out for you, you would be able to try and look into the other area or the other cluster. So in the next slides, I have a couple of, again, more focused or highlighted of what those were supposed to be represented into the poster for you, but I know it was a little bit hard to read. So this is where we're going to take a little bit of time just to look at these guys. So the one that I'll highlight for you, just because it's easiest for me, I guess, like to talk about, if you look at number 6, that's where I would find myself, right now, currently. There's a little bit of overlap because I'll also kind of show you like the mathematics one before, but if you look at number 6, that's in finance. So possible careers, if you're interested in working with how money works, maybe some, again, retirement planning, or just buying and selling and being like a day trader or something like that. That's the world of finance for you. But there's lots of different versions that go along with that. So if you look at that, you could just simply be the executive. You're the person that's managing the books for you. It could be an entrepreneur that goes into it, but that would be more management. Financial planner is, again, what I mentioned, but maybe you just don't want to necessarily work with people. You can be more in the back office, part to it. So tax preparers are more, say, like numbers based. You might have heard of that as like a CPA, but those are people that are kind of really, really busy at a couple of different times during the year. But that's the idea of making sure that your taxes are, put into place. Other examples that you have would just be simply like working into a bank. That's still the world of finance. Now you get to try and pair these things with, again, your skill sets and interests. Do you like being in front of people? Do you like talking? Do you like just maybe having a cubicle where you can do and crunch numbers? It doesn't matter, okay? It's whatever you would really enjoy. There's probably a good fit for you out there some way, somehow. Okay, so other examples that we have on this one, like I said, arts, audio, video, technology, and communication. Number 3, there's a few different reasons why it just doesn't line up really well with what I was necessarily interested in. Plenty of great jobs that go into that. Find one for you is what we're trying to, again, give you just a start in your thought process to try and get into that mode of thinking, well, what maybe would I like to explore a little bit further here in these next coming weeks? Okay, a few more choices for us that we had. You have health sciences all the way down to law, public safety, and security. If you're interested into any of those things, here's a nice little summary of some jobs that would be possible into each career slice. Okay. Now, this is where number 15 was going to be my last one, where I probably actually started off with. I would still say my financial planning, because of the research that I have to do, does still fall into like number 15. But possible careers that go into that, I highlighted, I guess, electrical engineer, mechanical engineers. There's a million different kinds of engineers that would go into that same category. But that's where my degrees actually, took me. Hey, full math degree, go into a master's program, on and on and on, allows me to at least think about these kind of ones because it interested me. I felt good at it. I had success into it. Don't force yourself into one of the clusters. If you're not going to enjoy it, if you're not going to put the work into it, it's not going to work out for you. So don't be too pigeonholed, I guess, into thinking that you have to be in one spot. But if you fill out that first worksheet, skills, interests, where your values are, they probably start making you think of one of these 16 different areas. Now, last little bit about this list, it's not exhaustive. Again, there's going to be new things that were created that you haven't even dreamed of. When I was in your guys' shoes, a lot of the technology companies that are out here now, didn't even exist. That nobody would have thought of, what is Twitter, what is going to be, Instagram for you. Things like those platforms are huge businesses right now that didn't even exist, when I was even, thinking about it. So don't think, if you don't find yourself in one of those spots, that there can't be something that is out there for you eventually. And then we'll be talking about lots of careers that are, in growth cycles or maybe declining. So it's just an awareness of, how easy is it going to be for you to try and get a job. So if you've taken a look at that first worksheet and you'd like to do a little bit of a deeper dive into us, we also do have this link that you can kind of take a career assessment. So I'll highlight that for you just with the URL at the top. If you have time to do that with your teacher, that's an extended opportunity for you to try and take a career assessment. And you can just ask more questions. You can kind of look at the bottom there. They're just asking you simply, hey, do you like to inspect a roof for leaks? I personally don't. I would, be shocked, to find a leak into my roof, and I would have somebody else, taking care of that for me. It's not that they have a bad job and I have a good job, or vice versa to it. It's that they have a different skill set that I'm not going to be, using my time, towards. I'll go and do something else instead. So lots of different questions. It's just a different version of what we're trying to do here. So I hope that you guys really enjoy the series as you go on, but this is going to be the end for us in the first lesson. Just looking a little bit at ourselves with Mirror. Hopefully you're able to get some value out of it. Hope you guys have great success and a great school year. All the best. Bye-bye.